Well, hello, real estate entrepreneurs. It's Sean Steckler again with realestate-entrepreneur.com. And we move along to the next pillar, the fifth in a set of 10 in our video series on real estate investing. And today we are going to be talking about leverage, a subject or topic that's near and dear to my heart. So, how would one define or think about real estate leverage? I always think about it like this: doing more with less. Simple example, one sentence, but let it sink in. As we move through this video, I think it'll become very clear. One example of real estate leverage would be acquiring investment property using other people's money, which is OPM, banks, and in today's economy, private investors, but you get other people's money, and then you affect the investment through other people's time. And the example I have there would be through a renovation or the actual management of the asset. Examples of leverage. We talked about other people's money, that's OPM. Again, I always recommend approaching local or smaller community banks and developing a relationship. If you're just getting started, this will take time, but in my opinion, community banks, if you're going to go through a financial institution for your funding on your projects, community banks are the way to go. Other people's time, and mostly for real estate entrepreneurs and investors, you would want to begin to move quickly away from the day-to-day operations and move to delegating the property management component. And underneath the property management component, you would have the renovations, maintenance, and repairs for the assets or for the investment real estate. So that's OPT. Your experience and skill set, To me, this is the biggest and most influential form of leverage. It can either make you a great entrepreneur, mediocre, or you could fail altogether. But your experience, your skill set, and your approach to not only the discipline, but building the actual investment company is a huge example of how leverage can work. And then business systems. I'm a big believer in implementing and designing specific systems in your investment company. I'll be talking about that a lot more in detail. Certainly in the near future, we will be rolling out our business systems for the real estate investor in a box. But for now, these are 4 good key examples of leverage for the real estate entrepreneur. How about an example? Bob buys an investment property and puts 20% cash down. And this is $20,000 of Bob's cash. Let's say that we're going to buy a rent house for $100,000. So Bob borrows the other $80,000 from the bank for a total purchase price of $100,000. Bob hires some workers and renovates the property for $25,000. So Bob so far is into the property for $125,000, only $20,000 of it being his. Let's continue with the example. So Bob's into the property for $125,000, $20,000 of it being his. But the asset is now worth $250,000. So if Bob learns how to affect a property and bring it up to fair market standards, he can create quite a chunk of cash or quite a chunk of equity that goes into his asset column. So I know it's not higher math here, but when we ask about what Bob's potential profit would be on the deal, we're looking at $125,000. Now, the key to this is that Bob only used $20,000 or his cash to create $125,000 in his asset column. Very, very powerful. Also a very simple example of how leverage can work for the real estate entrepreneur. Other examples of leverage for the real estate entrepreneur. We had talked about a property manager. Definitely would recommend when you get to a point where your company has grown and you can handle one, I would highly recommend delegating this task and this role out. We have maintenance personnel that would actually handle the maintenance of the properties and repairs as they come up. Vendors that would supply things such as appliances, electrical components, plumbing components. Even Home Depot and Lowe's can fall under vendors. And from a professional standpoint or a professional services standpoint, bookkeeping, I would definitely have a part-time bookkeeper, and then your CPA. Real estate attorneys would certainly come into play whenever you're acquiring and closing on property. These are actual roles that create leverage for you, the real estate entrepreneur, but I really gravitate toward the entrepreneur creating and implementing and putting in place those business systems, and then plugging in each of these roles to run and manage the systems. So as we wrap up this video, I hope that I gave you a little peek into how powerful leverage can be and how many opportunities the real estate entrepreneur has to create leverage, not only for himself but for all the others that he affects and works with in the real estate investing company. So this is Sean Steckler. We're going to wrap up this video, and this is it for me on this one.